All right, SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools. New location in Gluckstadt. Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools. Best text today, we're giving away a Demario Davis linebacker for the New Orleans Saints. T-shirt signed, by the way. Autograph. Demario Davis. Saints T-shirt. Best text today on the Mississippi Ag text line, 601-885-3776. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. All of our guests join us on the Parish Brewing guest line. And we're going to go to Oxford, Mississippi in just a second. Talk about the Ole Miss Rebels against the Florida Gators a week and a half from now. Want to welcome in David Johnson, Ole Miss Insider, Rebels 247. David, good morning. How are you?
Good. Well, good morning. Outside of there being a power outage in Oxford right now, when on a perfectly sunny day, everything's going great.
Oh man, I hope y'all get the power back sooner than later, for sure.
Yeah, me too. I'm starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, we don't want that. Not this early in the day.
No doubt.
Okay, tell me what is the latest on John Rice Plumlee as far as the QB situation, and or maybe even playing another position.
Yeah, so as of right now, he's taken all his reps, still a quarterback, as far as we know. Now, I expect that to be the case. I think they're going to use both those guys. I do think Matt Corral gets a start. I don't think anything's changed with that against Florida, but I think there are going to be packages for John Rice Plumlee, and I think Lane Kiffin's going to throw both of them at Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators.
Okay, Blake.
Do they view John Rice Plumlee as a quarterback or as a gadget player?
Oh no, I think they're giving him his fair opportunity to try to win this job, and I don't think you could do that if you've labeled him a gadget player. I think thus far he's exclusively been a quarterback. Now he's such a talent that it would be a shame for them not to have him on the field somewhere, and the temptation to make him a gadget player. Well, it's got to be great if he's not going to be your starting quarterback. But, Lane said a few things over the last couple of press conferences we've had with him that just leads you to believe that he's going to experiment with both these guys, at least in the first part of the season, and see what happens. The last time we talked about, Plumlee's just a gamer. He's not going to look as good at Lane Kiffin's offensive practice as Matt Corral is. I wrote this in a column, but when it comes to Kiffin's offense and a practice situation, Corral's wearing a tailor-made suit. Plumlee's buying his off the rack. It's going to fit Corral a little bit better. It's a protected environment. It's a short whistle. It's everything that's not conducive to John Rice Plumlee showing the best visibility.
That's a great way to frame it up. I like that. Yeah, okay.
All right.
David, I'm impressed, my man. I like that.
Well,
okay.
Good. Good deal.
All right. David Johnson, Rebels 247, Ole Miss Insider on the Parish Brewing guest line. So the offense, especially in practice, fits Matt Corral like a perfectly tailored suit. And it's basically just John Rice, pulling one off the rack. But I could not agree more with what David just said. Plumlee is an absolute gamer. So we will see how this thing plays out and looks. But as you and I discussed last week or the week before, David, this is a mulligan year for Kiffin, so he can just about do whatever he wants as far as experimenting with these two, whereas most coaches couldn't. But with everything that's happened this year, Kiffin can do that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the truth. There are not a lot of expectations around this Ole Miss football team. The whole COVID situation, no spring practice, which he brings up quite often, has kind of set things back. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They could go 2-8 this year, and I think, everybody would still have an eye on the future. Now, that's going to hurt them recruiting-wise if they can't go out, put some wins on the board this fall. But, you're exactly right. Yeah, it's kind of a mulligan situation. If it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too.
All right, we've got a little breaking news. Then we're going to get back into to Ole Miss with David Johnson. It is official. The Big Ten will play football this year, and they will play October 23rd.
8 games in 8 weeks, no bye weeks. They're going to try to end December 19th.
Because they want to be a part of the college football playoff, and if this all happens, then I think Ohio State will make it. And just wanted to let our listeners know. David Johnson, Rebels 247, Ole Miss Insider on the Parish Brewing guest line. As far as Plumlee, is he healthy right now? Is he back healthy, David?
Well, he's had some hamstring issues and been a little bit banged up, as it's been described. But I think he is. Nothing serious there. Just the rigors of preseason practice. But, we have no reason right now to believe, he's not healthy.
Okay. Huh. And I guess, we're a week and a half out, so we're kind of, we're running out of time, David, right? As far as you know, they're going to flip the page after this weekend and go totally into game week and figure out who's ready to go. So do you think that could affect his play against Florida? Let's just say Kiffin a couple of weeks ago was thinking, I'm going to play John Rice some. If he's not healthy, he may not play as much against Florida, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's just logic right there. That's a logical conclusion to draw. But, we'll see on the quarterback deal. Lane's kept it very close to his vest. Sometimes I think he says things to send mixed signals, so to maybe keep a little fog in the air over, who's going to play, how much they're going to play, and all that good stuff. Again, nothing's changed with my opinion that Matt Corral is going to get the start against Florida. But I think if he's able, if he's not banged up beyond what we've been led to believe, then I think you're going to see a pretty healthy dose of John Rice Plumlee as well.
All right, tell me what you're hearing as far as Ely in this new offense with Kiffin and Levy.
Yeah, Ely said it best. He doesn't even describe himself as a running back anymore. He's just a weapon. They're going to use Jerrion Ely in a variety of ways and try to get the football in his hands as much as possible. Who wouldn't? The kid is he's very versatile. He can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. You can line him up in the slot. When he hits the holes hard, he can make people miss. And then, of course, with his speed, he's off to the races when that happens. I think you're going to see a lot of Jerrion Ely. And if he stays healthy, I think Jerrion Ely is going to have a breakout caliber year that could make him kind of a household name, so to speak.
What are you hearing as outside the receivers, outside of Elijah Moore and Mingo?
Well, the latest guy to kind of create a little bit of buzz is Dontario Drummond, the JUCO transfer. He'll be a senior this fall. But at the same time, there've been a third receiver, so to speak, behind Elijah Moore and Jonathan Mingo, that's kind of made some waves a little bit in preseason practice. But I think the problem is consistency. It's been different guys there, so to speak, in that third slot. Braylon Sanders sometimes, and sometimes Danish Jackson or guys like that. So there's not a lot of consistency there in that third spot. I think this close to kickoff, Bo, I really think it's going to be third receiver by committee, so to speak. And, they want to play 6-7 receivers in the rotation, and I think they will. But right now I think everybody knows Elijah Moore is your primary target. Everybody's anticipating a different kind of Jonathan Mingo out there this fall. And then, whoever else gets the hot hand and doesn't get a case of the drops, that'll be the third guy.
There's a lot of depth there, though. Those next four guys, I know they feel like there's a lot of athleticism and talent there, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. They've got some really good receivers with a lot of potential. All these guys were pretty highly rated. Ole Miss wasn't rating the back of the refrigerator, so to speak, with those receivers. Problem is, though, a lot of them got ample opportunity last season, Bo, and they just didn't come through.
Right.
You can put Jonathan Mingo in that group as well, but Mingo has, as I said last time I talked with you, you could see the maturity in him. It's very visible. The work ethic is what it should be for an SEC wide receiver now. And, by all accounts, he's blossoming and is ready to explode. You don't hear that kind of stuff on the other guys yet. And, they need to find that third receiver because if not, Elijah Moore is going to get a lot of bracket coverage this fall.
Okay. David Johnson, Rebels 247 on the Out of Bounds show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Ole Miss opens at home against Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators a week and a half from now, 11 a.m. So we're excited that it's around the corner. Tell me about Royce Newman. I mean, the Senior Bowl's raving about this young man. Several years ago, Ole Miss flipped him from Missouri, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. That's exactly right.
And now he's emerged as what could be a heck of an NFL draft pick. What's going on with Royce Newman?
Yeah, great kid, first and foremost. He and my son are really, really good friends, and I'm excited for Royce. He's always just kind of flown a little bit under the radar here. They played him out of position last year at guard. Though he can play guard, I think that right tackle spot is more of a natural position for him. He is a large, hulking human being who is very, very athletic, very, very long, very lengthy arms, and he is going to be an NFL draft pick. Knock on wood, as long as he stays healthy this year. He's that kind of talent. He's got a mean streak about him, and he loves to play football. And again, they were kind of forced to play him at guard last year, and they were really kind of forced to move him back to tackle this year because the depth's not great on the edge of the offensive line for Ole Miss. But I'm a big Royce Newman fan. This kid's got a very, very bright future. And pretty much, could be the best offensive lineman on the Ole Miss roster right now.
How about that? So Royce Newman emerging as an NFL guy, and the Senior Bowl's already talking about him. And
so they lined him up. They lined him up to play wide receiver at 6'6", 280 pounds when he was in high school. If that says anything about his athleticism,
wow,
great hands too.
Wow. Okay. So keep an eye on number 72 this year on the Ole Miss offensive line, as he'll be pass blocking for Corral and run blocking for Ely and Snoop. David Johnson, Rebels 247 on the Parish Brewing guest line. Who's creating a buzz, David, on defense?
Ryder Anderson. You're going to see Ryder Anderson play both defensive end and defensive tackle. He's a guy that not a lot of people are talking about because, Ryder was injured last year early in the season. I think 5 games in. He sat out the rest of the year. But let me tell you, while he was setting out, he turned his body into the Incredible Hulk, adding a little good weight, a lot of muscle mass, and without losing a step. He is a quick twitch, beat you on the first step kind of guy. I like the idea that DJ Durkin had of shifting his quickness down to the defensive tackle spot, the thinnest area on the Ole Miss football team. He can also be an edge rusher. He can set the edge, and he's my guy. He's the guy I'm saying is going to give Florida and a lot of other people fits this year. He's a senior out of the Houston, Texas area. And if you don't know about him, look him up, Ryder Anderson. His brother was running back at Oklahoma a few years ago, and is now in the NFL.
Yeah, I remember when Ryder signed out of the Houston area. Okay, so he'll play up and down the line of scrimmage is what you're telling us. Interesting.
That's right. That's right. He's going to play some on the interior for the first time in his career.
There you go. David Johnson, Rebels 247 on the Out of Bounds show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. How do you feel about the kicking game, David?
Woo! You really want to know that answer? I know, seriously. It's got to be better than it was last year. That is hands down the case. I think Mac Brown is capable of being one of the better punters in the SEC, as he was last year. He averaged over 44 yards a kick, and he's back, and they've abandoned the rugby-style punt this year, which now we find out after the fact Mac Brown despised last year having to do that. So he's happier now just to kind of sit back in the pouch and be able to boot it downfield. With Luke Logan, it's a confidence issue. And, he's had to overcome his terrible ending to the 2019 season down in Starkville last year, where he missed the 35-yard PAT. And, just an excruciating end for him. So he says it's kind of fueled his fire to make him work harder over the off season, and I guess we'll find out. But I think the punting game is in really good hands with Mac Brown. The place kicking game, I mean, Bo, I could sit here and go, oh yeah, it's going to be a lot better, but we all know it's about snakes in the head for kickers, and whether or not Luke is able to get a grasp on things this year better than he had last year, we'll see.
We'll leave it there. A week and a half away, Ole Miss will host the Florida Gators in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium for Lane Kiffin's debut. And Matt Corral will take the snaps early, but we'll see what happens as the game plays out with none other than John Rice Plumlee. David Johnson, Rebels 247, Ole Miss Insider on the Parish Brewing guest line. David, have a wonderful week. We'll talk next week. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Bo, for having me on as always.
David Johnson, Rebels 247 on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. There you go. How about Drummond at wide receiver? So Elijah Moore and Mingo are the two dudes, and then it'll be kind of by committee going down from there. Braylon Sanders, Drummond, Dennis Jackson, among others. We'll see what shakes out there. That's kind of fun, the question marks outside of who you really feel confident are going to produce and be productive, and then who could come of age or help that unit get better over the course of the year.
I mean, is there anyone outside of Elijah Moore that we really know? And even he, although probably not to his own fault because of the system last year, but he didn't have probably the year that some people thought he would have last year. I think he can 100% produce, and you've seen him produce in situations. But outside of that, there is nobody with like true production experience coming back on that receiver position.
Didn't he catch like 67 balls, and then the next one was like 13?
Yeah, so they only threw the ball 320 times last year, which has got to be like an Ole Miss low.
Right.
And the lead receiver was Elijah Moore, 67 for 850 and 6 touchdowns.
That's nice.
The next closest was your running back, Jerian Ely, with 20 catches.
Okay, Jerian.
So I mean, he had triple the next closest guy.
Yeah.
And that's my point, is like when you look at the actual receivers, it's not, Mingo, 10 catches, Drummond, 13 catches, the tight end, Octavius Cooley, 13 catches. Braylon Sanders, 10 catches. And that's not. And I always thought Braylon Sanders was going to be a great slot receiver.
Still may be.
Yeah, not to discredit him, but you don't have. It's not to the Texas A&M level because these guys have obviously played, but it's not like you're returning guys that have 100 catches on that. This isn't A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Laquan Treadwell coming back for their third year.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot to prove for that Ole Miss offense.
No question. 80% of the offense back.
But it's really in the running backs and quarterbacks and one receiver. It's not 4 receivers, it's one guy.
Well, they all played a lot. They just didn't catch much football. So
exactly,
there is something to be – they had a lot of reps. They ran around. I think there is something to that in the league. I think they understand the physicality. They were covered by SEC DBs, and those are things that they're familiar with.
Well, and when you only throw the ball 320 times and complete about 58% of those, that's not a lot of receptions. It's kind of like Mississippi State. Those receivers are not experienced, but you could also argue they didn't get the opportunity to be experienced because you weren't throwing the ball enough or completing it enough.
Or well.
Yeah.
No question. Do you want to switch gears on the Big Ten?
Yeah, let's hit it real quick.
All right. It's the weekend of October 24th.
That's right.
They will resume play, and the league's presidents and chancellors got together. I guess the league's entire council of presidents and chancellors met for several hours Sunday afternoon with members of and I love this, the Return to Competition Task Force, which plans for scheduling and television. The Big Ten Medical Subcommittee reviewed the latest medical information about a safe resumption of play during the coronavirus pandemic. And the task force also met Saturday with 8 presidents or chancellors, including Nebraska Chancellor Ronnie Green.
Here's what you need to know, the biggest key factors. They will start October 23rd or 20. I think 23rd is Friday. They may have a Friday game. And then they will play 8 games over 8 weeks. They will not have a bye week. Now, the ACC has 2. SEC has 1. I think the Big 12 has 2, but I could be wrong. They may have just 1. But everybody else has bye weeks. Big Ten will not play with a bye week. They will play 8 straight games. They have a 21-day mandatory suspension for any player or coach that tests positive. That's a week longer than everybody else and up to 11 days longer than most state governments.
Didn't I see where they're actually cutting that 14-day?
In some conferences,
in
yes.
some places down to 7?
Well, some states have 10-day.
Okay.
But
I expect that to continue over time to get cut down to eventually like 3 or 4 or 5 days.
But the Big Ten is doing 21 days, which means, again, if your offensive lineman tests positive on October 20th, you don't get him until November 7th. You know what I mean? Like that's big. And then the final one, this is the biggest one. The team positivity rate has a automatic shutdown threshold of 5%, which basically what the Big Ten is saying is if you have 5% or more of your team positive at any one time, you're not allowed to play football.
Is that scholarship?
I don't know. There's a lot of this is going to have to be dug through, but basically what that's saying is
8.5, it would be 10%, and 4.25 would be.
Texas Tech says they have 123 members of their team.
Well, that's counting walk-ons.
Exactly, but that's how they classify themselves. And so they had 65 players of their 123 that have tested positive already. Orgeron has reported close to that number, something like 69 of his players. So in theory, in the Big Ten, that would cause an automatic shutdown for that team if they were positive at the same time. Any more than 5%. That's not a lot of kids. That's a low threshold.
They may not play.
Yeah. Basically, I think what the presidents did was they set up a fall.
They set it up to fail?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Let's
wrap our brains around that. The Out of Bounds Show is presented by Eye Care Professionals and Dr. Kirk Jeffries and Eye Care Professionals on Lakeland Drive. Blade-free LASIK and cataract surgery. Eye Care Professionals. That's where you want to go for blade-free LASIK and cataract surgery. Eye Care Professionals. Dr. Kirk Jeffries. On Lakeland Drive, about 1.5 miles off of I-55. Just down from Smith Wills, but on the other side of Lakeland Drive. We are live in the Bank Plus studio. More on the Big Ten maybe resuming play on the weekend of October 24th. This is the Out of Bounds Show.